You're listening to the Heritage Film Club podcast show. It's three lads chatting about a movie that one of them forced the others to watch. If you're looking for an in-depth analysis of your favourite movies, boy, have you come to the wrong place. My fancy British accent is as smart as this show will ever sound. These guys barely know what they're talking about. It's time to sit back, relax and enjoy. Welcome to the club. Now here are your hosts, Mike, Brian and Clayton.
Welcome back for episode 8 of the Heritage Film Club. I am Mike, and with me as always are Brian.
Hi.
And Clayton.
Hello.
And we have a guest with us this week, Jarrod.
Hi there.
And Jarrod picked the movie, so this week we're watching Heavenly Creatures. And as always, we'll run through the stats quickly. So, 1994, directed by Sir Peter Jackson, before he was a Sir. Before this, he was in the splatter genre. He had done Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, and Brain Dead, or Dead Alive in the US, which is a great movie as well. And this was his first movie to depart from that sort of theme, and steer his career in the direction it's gone, I guess. It stars Melanie, Lynskey and Kate Winslet in both of their film debuts. And it was an Academy Award nominee for Best Screenplay, and it won the Silver Lion at the Venice Film Festival, which it also opened. The budget for this was $5 million. It grossed 5.4, so it's not quite as outstanding as the last couple of movies we've watched, but then this is more like an independent movie, really. And the Rotten Tomatoes, I think we don't need to guess which one will be the higher one this week. Critics gave it a 92, unsurprisingly, and the audience was 83, so that's still pretty high. Higher than I thought it might be. So does that track for you guys?
I think it makes sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, likewise. That's about right, I think. Seems like a critic's movie.
Definitely seems like a critic's movie. Clayton, you're quiet.
No, it sounds reasonable, bro.
Okay. Alright, so we won't do a round table this time. I think we'll just get into each other's thoughts. That sounded weird. But
come into my mind.
Yeah. Alright, so I think it only makes sense that we start with our guest, because Jarrod, you picked the movie. So do you want to explain why you picked it and then what your thoughts are?
Yeah, so I first watched this movie earlier in the year. I had listened to another podcast, if I'm allowed to mention other podcasts here.
Go for it.
It was a True Crime New Zealand one about the actual case, and I found it quite interesting, so I thought I would check the movie out, and I really enjoyed it. It seemed like it was quite truthful to what actually happened, just from what I read about the case, and I really liked the movie.
Cool. And do you want to talk about what you liked about the movie?
I don't know. I just thought it's kind of weird. It's just kind of interesting. I like some of the, especially the last half of the movie. There's quite a build up to the actual murder, which I found was quite intense. And I like movies that are like that, just like a build up like that. And I thought obviously both the girls were great in it as well.
Yeah, agree. Cool. Okay, let's. Clayton, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence about it, eh?
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be a dislike, so that's
No, okay, so after watching it, I went to Wikipedia and was like, oh, this is like a true story. Now I wish it was a documentary, because I think I'd have more fun watching the documentary than watching this. But, like, the subject matter of the movie was pretty cool, but it was like, meh. Like, I'm glad I watched it, but yeah, meh.
I feel like you're always glad you watched it, maybe except for Batman.
Oh, no, it's like, because it's a movie I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. So, if it's, if you're getting me to watch a movie that I haven't seen before, then I wouldn't go out of my way to watch. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm happy. But, I mean, it's, like, would I watch it again? Probably not, but it was what it was, but subject matter was quite cool though.
Would you say it was a waste of 2 hours, or
Nah, I want to watch a documentary of it.
okay?
Like
There
the
must
subject
be.
matter is really intriguing. The fact that there's two girls like plot a murder and just murder the mum just to be together. It's like, okay, sweet as.
There must be a documentary. Surely someone in New Zealand has done something on TV or something.
Under the film section on Wikipedia, I could only find this one.
Yeah, it's bizarre. You'd think there'd be at least sort of like a,
Yeah.
like a 60 minutes or 2020 type thing about it. Okay.
But it wasn't a waste of my time. But yeah, it's there. But yeah, I'm on the fence. Not good, not bad.
Clayton, I think you're the most open-minded of all of us, because every time we watch a movie, even if you didn't like it, you always say, well, I'm glad I watched it. I think you're at least keen on the idea of watching these things. Sometimes, like, a movie will come up and
Yeah,
go,
because
I
that's the whole
kind of
point
don't
of
want to
it.
watch it, but I'll watch it anyway,
And that's the whole.
It's interesting.
I think it's just the whole point of like how I've came into it, because I know there's going to be movies that you guys watch or you guys pick, because you guys are hardcore movie buffs, where I'm not.
Well,
So I'm like, okay, sweet, I'll give it a whirl. If I enjoy it, sweet. If I don't, well, it's none the wise. I've given it a go and go from there.
I think
I like
hardcore
that.
movie
That's cool.
watchers maybe more than buffs. But,
Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I think so because we've never talked about this, the genesis of this whole thing, I guess, was originally we had tried to do a podcast which we sort of gave up on, which was more comic related, and part of that one was because me and Brian are comic fans.
Geeks.
Yeah, okay, and I'll wear that. Yeah, and
proudly.
yeah, and our idea was we would pick a comic or series or book or whatever that we liked, and we'd get you as a non-comic fan to read it, and then come back and discuss it.
Yeah.
And when we decided to try and launch properly a podcast again, that idea turned into this idea where we would pick a movie, but then it evolved into let's circle around and sort of do a rotating pick, and that's where we've ended up. So it's good that you are taking it like that.
Yeah,
Like
well, it's the
Brian
only
said.
way to take it, because otherwise, if you go into it with like preconceptions, you're just gonna fall flat on your face, aren't you?
Yeah, well, there's at some point over the course of this whole thing, there's going to be a movie that each of us don't like. Well, Brian's already had one.
There it is
I had
again.
one. I didn't like the Batman.
The famous or infamous unaired episode Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yes,
Clayton,
which
you
was
join me
about
with
completely
that.
as,
hated
I like
that.
that.
it was about as strong a reaction as Clayton had to Batman.
Hey
Um,
Jared,
live
have
on
you
that
seen
one,
Wolf of
Jared.
Wall Street?
I have seen Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah.
Did you like it, or are you like your
No,
is it
I
cousin
did
or
like
family
it.
member? Yeah, uncle?
Uncle. Yeah, I did like it. I saw it in the cinemas when it came out. I think it's been a while. Since
Yeah.
I've never gone back to it, but I might have to rewatch it.
That's because it's a good movie. Anyway,
Yes.
all right. So let's
Yeah,
get back
of the
on
three
topic.
people on this podcast, apart from me, only one of you's in the will.
But he still likes the movie, so
Yeah.
don't take it away from him. Okay, so getting back onto the topic of heavenly creatures, Brian,
Shall
what
we?
about you?
I didn't think I was going. I wasn't sure that I was going to like it. I
Oh,
didn't
you hadn't
immediately
seen it
think-
before, right?
No, I hadn't seen it before.
Right.
And
okay.
I knew sort of the just the very thin synopsis, and that was about it. And so the fantasy bits of it kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't really across that. And I was kind of watching it, and it took me till about 20 minutes in to realize I was starting to get kind of interested and engrossed in it. So
Yeah.
I liked the second half of it the most as well. And because it built, and because I was invested by that point, and I thought I'm really interested to see where these characters go and just how it all plays out, because it starts off in quite a weird way, with the running and the screaming, not in a Jurassic Parky type of way, and then it sort of then the story just begins and it kind of develops, and yeah. So that was my initial take, at any rate, on the movie.
Yeah, it did start off with that sort of B horror movie type of like smash cut straight into the end of the movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which is interesting. Did it... Okay, so I was thinking about this, right? Like, I'm watching the movie. I'm really into it. And I see, like, I checked the timer at one point, not because I was bored, just to see how much I had left, because they hadn't murdered the mum yet. And
Spoilers.
it only happens at the last sort of 8.5 minutes of the movie. When they murder her. And I was thinking, well, they really just left that right to the end. But then I thought, well, that's sort of the point of the movie, isn't it? It's to build up, and then sort of the act of the murder is not really the point of the story. It is actually just the end of the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because most of the time you'd sort of hatch this plot, which they don't really do till very late in the movie anyway. And then you'd probably leave the last sort of 15 to 20 minutes maybe to deal with it, but they really just shove it in the end. It doesn't feel like it's shoved or anything, but yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, hard to explain. It's another rambling thought that
I did have some trivia that I was going to sort of mention later on, but I feel it sort of works now.
go for it.
So it was actually Peter Jackson's wife, Fran Walsh, who had the idea for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She had always been sort of interested in the case since she was young. She suggested that they make it, and they co-wrote it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of their intention for the main focus to be the friendship, instead of the whole like murder and the trial afterwards. They wanted to focus on that because they thought the friendship was so interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is what I got from the movie. That's definitely what the movie's about. It's not about the murder at all. Did anyone wish there was a little bit of the court case, or was everyone happy with it?
I did.
Oh yeah, I thought so. Because there was a lot of subtitle stuff at the end to sort of wrap it up, but
That's why I went on my Google hunt afterwards, because I was like, oh, okay, sweet. They killed the mum. Okay, there was a court case. Oh, this is an actual true story. Oh, okay, now what happened?
one of them became a best-selling author.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that, but I mean, like, where it ended, I wanted more, but that's just me. And that's why I said the documentary would do me wonders.
Yeah, the one thing that was maybe more when sort of in the first part of the movie, as I do with all New Zealand movies, and even Lord of the Rings, which is not a New Zealand movie, but I always look out for who from Shortland Street is in this movie, because they always tend to fill these movies with those actors, right? But actually there was only like one that I could pick, sort of one Kiwi actor that I recognised from TV. So it was actually quite good that the cast was sort of filled out with people I personally didn't really recognise.
Hey, Peter Jackson was in this movie, eh?
Yep, he was.
He was the dude who, like, slyly got kissed by Kate Winslet, eh?
That's correct.
He, like, a horny motherfucker.
He was like the homeless dude when they came out
Yes,
of the movies.
I was like, you're a badass. You put yourself in the movie, in her first movie, just to get that sly kiss. Oh, yeah.
And Clayton wins the prize for first swear word.
He does.
There you go.
You would have said a steak knives.
So, yeah, Jarrod already mentioned it as well, but yeah, I thought the two girls really did a great job. Especially, sometimes it was quite hard for me to believe that was Kate Winslet's first movie. I did read online some criticisms. It was actually on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was the audience ones. But a lot of people thought that the two girls overacted quite a lot. But thinking about that, they're supposed to be playing anywhere between 15 and 17, I guess. And they're two girls who live way deep in their imagination. So I think that was sort of fitting for those characters. Did anyone find it that they were overacting?
I think they were dramatic, but I think like as teenagers they're sort of like that, and their actual characters in real life were like that, obviously.
Yeah, and they obviously live with a highly creative and imaginative sort of those sort of personalities. So I don't think it's out of character for how they were portrayed in the movie, but I was just interested to see what everyone thought.
Largely speaking, I thought so. I thought that they were both really good, but there were moments where and sort of appreciating it was Melanie Lynskey's first movie as well. There's a few bits there where I'm just looking and she's sort of, all scrunched up, all making some kind of a face or whatever it is, and I'm looking at it going, that looks like acting.
Okay.
It just seemed really weird to me. It's like, watching a kid pull a face on occasion, not all of it. I'll probably get hate mail now. But there were just moments. I thought that as her character got darker throughout the movie, I thought she just became more interesting and more believable. There were definitely moments like when she's sitting in the doctor's office, kind of being diagnosed and all that kind of thing. And just some moments where I'm going, yep, you're just pulling that face again.
See, now it's opposite, because I was thinking the whole movie, man, she does a really good resting bitch face in this movie, for lack of a better term. Like pitch perfect, great. And she really comes across as the bratty teenager or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was quite funny, some of the faces she made. Just you can imagine that sort of teenage girl, like just real bratty and.
Yeah, I don't know. Took me out of it a little bit, but that was me. I'm happy to be in the minority. Maybe some critics online. But yeah, I think there was that whole element of it being over the top, and because they're sort of living that fantasy life in their heads. It's where the energy comes from, and the noise and all of that. I did like that.
What did you think of the visual effects in this movie, considering this is before Weta? This is sort of the precursor to Weta, I guess.
It was Weta Digital who did the effects.
Yeah, but were they called Weta by then?
I'm not sure, but it was that company.
It was the company, and it was, I think, Richard Taylor did the non-CG stuff in this movie. But I don't think they were witty, but I could be wrong. But what did you think of the effects in this movie?
I found sometimes you could sort of notice it was green screen. I think the first time they go into the fourth world when they're on holiday was a little bit noticeable then, but I still thought it was done quite well for the time.
Yeah.
I like that that fade from the meadow or whatever it was, and into the gardens and everything. Thought that actually was pulled off quite well, considering it's from 1994. And it's a sort of a lower budget New Zealand movie, not Jurassic Park or something that came out around the same time.
Yeah. The only time I thought it was like, that looks a little bit odd was when the plasticine guy gets cut in half by the portcullis when it drops. And then I sort of checked myself and it was like, well, yeah, he's meant to look like that.
Yeah,
he's made of modelling clay.
Yeah, I thought the giant clay guys looked really cool because it looked like they really were clay. Or plasticine, I think it's clay. But yeah, you're right, that scene where they cut the one in half and he split down the middle, that one took me out as well.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I actually sort of looked into it, that scene where they're in the kingdom. They actually made 70 latex costumes.
I was hoping you'd bring that up, because I was wondering how they did that.
Yeah, just load of latex costumes that they all wear.
They were really well done though, because they looked like clay.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I like that. And that, the fades into the fourth world, as you say, and all that sort of thing was actually pretty cool. And the first time it happened, when they're up in the hills, and that can you see it? And yeah, I liked that. I like how it sort of morphed from the one into the other, and then you're inside their heads a little bit.
See, and I liked that they lived in this fantasy world together. The only thing that annoyed me was specifically in that scene where the first time where it morphs into the fourth world and they're in the garden and they both run around opposite sides of the pool. And I was like, yeah, there's living in each other's fantasy world, but like knowing where the pool is and you're both in your own minds is weird. But that was the only time in the whole movie where I just went, yeah, that doesn't really work. But otherwise I was quite happy with it. I just had a quick look. Weta was founded in 1993, so yeah, Jarrod's right. This would be Weta Digital still. So there you go.
See, our guest brings credibility to the podcast.
Indeed, as we knew he would.
One thing I wanted to ask my uncle, the credits music. What do you think? Did you notice what it was?
No, I didn't.
When they played
It's
the
gonna be another one of
credits?
those ones where I should know what it is and someone trips me up again. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. What was it?
You'll Never Walk Alone.
Oh, I probably blanked it out then. For
that's
for
when
the
the,
reason that you know.
The girls' choir was singing. Or the school assembly was singing that song, wasn't it? At the beginning?
No, it's a different one.
No, yeah, it was
Different
the
at the beginning?
credits. Yeah, during the credits, right at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
it was You'll Never Walk Alone.
Oh, yeah. Anthem of Liverpool Football Club. I would have repressed it. It's a good spot though. Nicely done. We all Mario Lanza fans by now, are we?
Oh, after that movie, how can you not be?
What?
Greatest tenor in the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
completely. Yeah. I
And
want
I'd
the album
never heard of him
on vinyl.
until this. Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask if maybe it came up in your trivia or something, but and actually that points to it being Weta Digital too, is putting Orson Welles in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Third man.
that scene was quite cool. I thought.
It was.
Quite
That
funny.
was well done.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Do you find it look-alike, or is it just some really cool piece of digital trickery to make that?
Yeah, that was like Forrest Gump level almost. How they did that.
Zemeckis.
I didn't find anything about it, but I just thought maybe either a look-alike or maybe they've done some sort of makeup that just sort of made him look more like Orson Welles.
Yeah, because it was quite well done. It was quite a creepy scene too.
Because you get to see Orson Welles when they're in the movie, right? And they're in the cinema. I mean,
Watching the third
and
man.
they're watching The Third Man,
Mm.
and then, then he appears and chases them around. I did like that scene very much.
Because this really, for the most part, strayed away from horror quite a lot for Peter Jackson, but he still ramped up the tension when he could, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, the creepiest scene for me in the whole movie wasn't even a horror scene. It was the scene where I think his name was John.
The creepy dude.
Yeah, the border.
The border. Yeah.
Yeah, when he goes into Melanie Lynskey's room and he's like picking up her knitting book. He's like, oh, these look really complicated. Have you ever done the tea cozy? I was like, oh, this is going bad.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
It got
"Can I
really
just-"
weird, didn't it?
Yeah. Then he's like, oh, can I just hop in your bed? Because I'm freezing. She's like, oh, just for a minute. And I was like, oh, dude. And then thankfully the father comes in, although not really thankfully because it doesn't help anything in the end. But yeah, it's just really weird, especially when he's like, she's only 14. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Because you look
And then-
a lot older than 14.
And then Dad jumps to wonderful conclusions. The next thing you know, he's all blaming her, which I thought was.
You've broken my heart, Yvonne. I was like, oh,
There's your
jeepers.
soundbite.
Yeah, that's it. Oh man, but that for me was just the scene where I was like, oh, I could have done without that in the whole movie. But and the following scene where she goes to his house, also could have done without. But
Yeah, I thought that was a bold move. Again,
very.
a young person's first movie and all of that kind of thing. That must have been an interesting sell, I suppose.
Yeah, because she was only 17 when they filmed.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, it was for someone who hadn't acted before and was, found at a high school audition. There's a lot in this movie to ask of both of her and Kate Winslet, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah,
Some challenging
again,
scenes.
but man, there's a scene in the movie where I think it's where Pauline goes to the Humes' house when she finds out that they're going to ship away Kate Winslet's character because the parents are splitting up and they wanted to spend the last few weeks together at her house. I think it's that scene as she walks in and then Kate Winslet comes down the stairs bathed in light in her princess dress.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, she's clearly going to be a movie star. Like, geez, they set that up like it's very on the nose. But yeah, it was quite good.
There's even the scene where one of the fantasy scenes in this sort of look like they're standing on a balcony and they're both of them in sort of princess type dresses and drinking from cups or whatever. And Kate Winslet, which we should probably stop calling her, is standing there and she's got the full on pose going.
Mm-hmm.
And then Melanie Lynskey looks like a schoolgirl, which she's going to mean to be, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, yeah, film star.
Yeah, Kate Winslet didn't really track as being... I know she was young when they filmed this, so it's all legit, but she just didn't track as being sort of the same age as Melanie Lynskey for me most of the time.
Yeah, likewise a bit. So,
If you look at photos, there's a couple photos online of the actual girls, and they do look quite similar. Like Kate Winslet's character, Juliet is like a lot taller, and Pauline's a lot shorter and sort of pudgier.
Yeah, I think not to stamp all over the trivia that'll come later, but I did read that that's primarily why those two were cast, or certainly Melanie Lynskey anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Was because they wanted to get people who looked as close as possible as well.
To fit in with type. Yeah.
Yeah. But Clayton, you've been quiet.
Hey,
Yeah, hey, were you there the whole time?
yeah, no, I was here the whole time.
Oh,
You
okay.
guys talking. I'm just like, I won't interrupt you guys.
Yeah, but we need you to talk more. We like
No.
listening to your thoughts.
Yeah, but like you guys are all like character this, character that, and I'm just like,
Yeah, no, that's why we're
Show me the
opening it up.
trial.
Opening up the floor to you.
Oh, okay. I had 3 great scenes out of this whole movie.
Oh, that comes at the end. Don't
Yeah, I know, that's all I've
Don't
got.
stifle the man. You can't call him in and
yeah,
then
we
say
can't
no.
stifle them. Okay, give us 2, but save your favourite one till the end.
Okay, the whole I think your daughter's a lesbian scene.
Yeah.
Well, the whole lead up from when from when the dad goes to the other parent's house up until the doctor scene, the whole dialogue there just looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially because they very pointedly tried to avoid using the word.
Yeah, but I'm guessing like it's the 50s, so I guess it's a bad thing. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was, yeah.
Was it me, or was that lit like a horror movie? That kind of, they're sitting in the dark in the lounge, living room, whatever you want to call it. You know, and there seems like light through the curtains and all that kind of thing. It seems very low lit, and it was almost like a horror movie vibe.
Yeah, I think he used a lot of that that sort of cinematography and stuff. Like he tried to sort of still maybe bring that influence in, but into a drama movie, sort of.
Yeah, I think there's the part near the end where they're sort of burning the photos in the fireplace.
Yeah.
I think that was quite creepy, horror
Yeah,
inspired.
that was quite well shot too. The one when they're outside burning the stuff. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
and
is
they're all
it good
wearing
sequence,
black
though?
and
Yeah. Yes.
Clayton, what was your other scene? Oh, Clayton's gone. All right. Oh no, here he is. He's coming back. Is he back?
What did you say, Mike?
Am I back?
Yes, you are back.
Right, I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Something happened.
Okay. So, what was your other scene that you?
Oh, the second favorite scene was the whole Peter Jackson scene, just because
Okay, that's really good that you recognise that because it's very quick.
What, the Peter Jackson?
Yeah.
The cameo. Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah, I
what
was just like, you know what? That's like, if I was Peter Jackson, that's what I'd be doing.
That's
It's pretty
creepy.
badass. No. I mean, it's pretty badass, really.
Yeah, but I'm surprised you recognise him because he is a lot skinnier in this movie. Too.
Yeah, but because that's like, because he got biggish through the whole Lord of the Rings phase, eh?
I think when he became more publicly
Out
filmed,
there.
he's always been that way since he's become more of a public figure. I think so. Everyone recognised him as the bigger guy, but he certainly wasn't back then.
Yeah, no, I was like, it was his face that gave it away.
Good. Well, that's good because yeah. All right. Cool. I will save your other one till the end then. But
Sweet.
do you have any other comments? Like, did you like the fantasy stuff? Did you hate that part of the movie?
No, one of my the favorite scene is a cross between reality and fantasy, but I won't go into that yet.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I actually liked not Kate Winslet's character, the other character better.
Melanie Lynskey, Pauline.
Yeah.
Yvonne, whatever you want to call her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found her character more intriguing.
What
it's
I
interesting
find,
because the movie's basically just taken from her point of view because it's all from the diary.
It's her diary, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's her
Actual-
diary.
yeah, reading from the actual entries.
And
So-
it obviously it would paint Juliet in a good light, the other character, because she was so infatuated with her. She like loved the idea of like a wealthy family and well educated.
Yeah, also makes script writing a lot easier when half of it's all just from the diaries.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that, I guess. Yeah, it is. It's a perspective, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's her view, as you say, of Juliet. I hadn't pondered that.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
actually a
scenes
good
of her
touch.
coming down the staircase in the dress, that would have been how she had viewed her.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good call. See, that's why we said he'd make this podcast smarter.
This is why we need the educated people, the film educated people. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's you're exactly
nice.
right. Yeah.
Clayton, I don't personally know Frodo.
Oh yeah. Nah, well, I assume 2 degrees of separation because you had gone to film school in New Zealand and
Small
Lord of the
industry,
Rings
right?
was in New Zealand. You would have known him.
But that would have been before his time in film school.
No, like he would have known somebody that knew somebody that like served Frodo coffee or something.
I'm also interested where you
And
get
then
2
we would have
degrees
got
of
that guy
separation.
who made the coffee on the podcast.
Wait, you want Elijah Wood's barista?
Hey, I'll take anything. If we got Elijah Wood's barista, hey, we got Elijah Wood's barista.
If anyone's listening that has
Knows
met
how Elijah
Elijah
likes
Wood,
his coffee.
yeah, or has served him coffee, get in contact because you'll do.
Hell yes, hell yes.
Yeah.
I do have one sort of minor story from film school, actually. A guy that I went there with, I was
Proof
talking to
Clayton,
him,
right?
Yes.
and
Yes.
he was telling me about his mate who actually worked on Wolf of Wall Street as like in the production of that movie. And yeah, he ended up dating Margot Robbie.
No.
Get
Yeah.
out.
No,
Working
for real.
production on Wolf of Wall Street and ended up dating Margot Robbie.
Now, I was going to say, now we need to get Margot Robbie on and ask her, but actually it'd probably be easier to get the guy
To get
on. Jeepers. So, there you go.
Wow.
It's 6 degrees of separation, I believe, is the phrase.
Oh,
And-
I thought it was 2 New Zealand.
And that's where
Well,
you...
it's a smaller country. Yeah.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
Wow.
And that's where you... that's where I thought
Well-
that was leading for a minute.
Well, hang on. Can we count that? Jarrod, how many steps is that from you to Margot Robbie?
No,
One-
to Frodo.
Oh, to
No,
Fro- I don't know about Frodo.
we've moved past Frodo. We're on Margot
we
Robbie.
can
now.
never move past Elijah Wood. Not on this podcast.
No. So there was the guy I went to school with, his mate, Margot Robbie. 3
It's only
degrees.
like 3.
So 3, yeah?
degrees. That'll do.
Sweet.
Wow. Okay.
You practically
on-
know her, man.
Oh.
And I
Get
bet
on
you
that
pretty
podcast.
much.
that Margot Robbie has the phone number for Frodo. Just saying, they're all Hollywood-ace celebrities, mate.
Oh, she might have met him.
There's our in.
So in, geez, that's a long shot, but hey, it's closer than we were yesterday. So good. All right.
Exactly.
You bring Clayton back into the podcast, and this is what happens. See, this is why you can't fire him too. 'Cause this is how
Yeah.
Clayton makes things happen.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, get on it, Clayton. Use your internet powers. Okay, so let's talk about what did you think of the murder scene?
It was pretty brutal.
It
It
was
was,
really difficult.
Yeah.
I really had a hard time watching
Was this like legit how they did it? Because I was just like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
From what I've heard, the real murder was even more violent than was shown in the movie.
Damn.
Yeah. From what I read, it was they expected she'd die after one blow, but then it took over 20.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
And I thought in the movie there was already too much of the repeated bashing. But to get to 20, jeepers.
that. Peter undersold it. Yeah, because that really built up, and it's one of those ones where you know it's coming, and there's this whole dread of it, and
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
watch it anyway. You know, I
Yeah.
found that really, really quite difficult.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to say about that scene, but I'm going to leave it because it might come up in Jarrod's trivia. So I'm going to leave it, and if it doesn't, I'll try and remember to say what it was. But yeah, but that was, you're right. It was as soon as they got to the gardens, and then the mother was like, I want to have tea first. I was like, oh, you're delaying your own murder.
Yeah.
And then they go for the walk, and they get deeper and deeper into the forest. And as soon as she turns around and says, oh, we've got to go and catch the bus, it's like, now it's time. Plus, you've only got 8 minutes left of the movie, so you've got to get on with it. And it sounds like it took probably the whole 8 minutes in real life. So, yeah, was it... how did you find it, Clayton? Did you find it quite brutal, or was it a bit tame for you?
I was just like, sweet. Like, not like,
That's
oh,
not the
I wish that upon anybody. Just throw that out there. It was just like, okay, sweet. This is what we lead up to. Bam, let's deal with it. And I think that's why I wanted more of the aftermath.
Yeah.
Because it got to that point where I'm like, hey, sweet, you dealt with the mum. Sweet, what's going to happen now? And then we fade to black, and it's like, oh, come on.
And then a lot of title cards, like...
Yeah.
Mm.
And I get it. I get, like, especially how you were saying it was trying to run over the whole relationship of the two girls instead of the actual murder and so forth. So I get it from that perspective, but from what I was getting out of it when I watched it, I was just like, oh, you fade to black. Oh, come on. So yeah.
You know what I also found weird, and this is more not about the movie itself, but just reading those title cards, and I was like, oh, that's weird, was that, oh, unless I read this afterwards, so hopefully this wasn't the title cards, but she was convicted under her mother's maiden name
Yeah.
because they found out the parents weren't really married,
Yeah.
and so she was she wasn't under
Parker. She was on the Parker, eh?
she was under
Parker.
Parker, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's bizarre because nowadays, generally speaking, if you are a couple and have a baby in New Zealand anyway, even if you're not married, the baby usually gets the father's name.
Mm.
And I found that really weird that because they weren't married, she got convicted under the mother's maiden name, which not even a maiden name because they weren't married. But
Well, yeah, just
that was bizarre to me.
Yeah.
And
What
also,
was this?
and also what I didn't, what I found interesting, I had to look it up to sort of see a bit more about, was that because they were underage, they couldn't get the death sentence.
Yeah.
And I forgot we had the death sentence in New Zealand.
Yeah. True.
Especially as recent as the 50s. And so they got incarcerated at Her Majesty's pleasure, is what it said. So basically as long as they want. Like,
5 years, eh?
yeah, did that seem really short to anyone?
And then out.
Does to me.
It felt really short because they both only did about 5 years. And then on
Never
their
to
way.
see each other again
Yeah.
as a condition.
Yeah, well, yeah.
From
So
what
anyway,
I've read about, I heard about the trial is they pled insanity. That was the whole case they went in with, and it
Okay.
just got completely thrown out. They realized they weren't. Well, yes, they decided they weren't.
Yeah, because you could argue that actually, but I guess if they found those diaries, which I think they found quite fast, you've got all your evidence right there. But
Just right there, yeah.
that could really point to insanity, though, in a way.
Oh, yeah. There was a couple of things I was wondering at the end of that. I mean, one is even watching it while they're they're planning the whole thing, or that they're taking her down the path. I'm thinking, how did you think you were going to get away with it? Because when you get up to the top of the hill, what's your explanation?
Well, when they
and
ran up
I-
at the start, sorry,
Oh, you go.
when they ran up at the very start of the movie, you know, that smash cut into the movie, and
Yeah.
she's running up with her face covered in blood, she's screaming like, "Oh, she's really badly hurt," or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think they were going to frame it like it was an accident or something, but then why would she be
somehow
covered in blood?
She ended up with these 20 wounds in the back of her head from what
Well-
looks like probably a brick.
She probably had no skull left.
Well, yeah, it just seemed like that seemed really, really strange to me.
Yeah, because why would all the blood be on your face?
Yeah.
As well, so-
And there's one for you, Jarrod. Probably you might pick this up better than me, certainly. Because there's that piece at the end, towards the end bit, and she's sort of fantasizing about them being on the boat, or on them. Juliet's up on the boat, and they're being separated at that point. And I wondered about it because there's while the murder's actually taking place, or it's just about to happen, and you can see the look on Juliet's face, and she's clearly, it's like, this is too far. She's kind of changing her mind, I think, for mine. Is that kind of symbolism, or is it something just the separation even at that point starts then, and they're not even just the act of the murder, but they've kind of separated at that stage?
Yeah, I don't know, and I guess maybe in their minds they know that there's no coming back from that. They are going to be separated and taken to prison. That there's no really way that they're going to be free after that.
Yeah, you're not getting away with this kind of thing. And I just wondered at that point, it just struck me something after the fact. I looked at it because the whole flashing back to that whole sepia tone thing with the ship. It kind of seemed a bit odd to me at the time, and I had to think about it later and just go, well, maybe that's what that was. And I thought perhaps I was overthinking it.
That's how I read it when I was watching the scene, because they had the scene where they were happily together and kissing and everything, but but then when it went to that scene and suddenly they're being pulled apart, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh, they've realised that they're not going to be together now at all.
It's just not going to happen.
But it's funny that you say that Juliet seemed to be changing her mind about the whole thing, but then she picks up the brick.
Or regretting it.
She fully joins in.
She does, yeah. And that's the thing that, like, she's well, we have to now, or look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I will go into, obviously, as you said before, Juliet now is a famous writer, famous author, Anne Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Has done a lot of sort of historical crime novels, and she had kept her identity a secret until basically the movie had came out, and then she announced that she was Juliet.
Did she
And-
announce, or did it get
Did
found?
someone
I
track her
guess-
down
I'm
or
not- I
something?
think-
or
Yeah, it came out, tracked out, and I guess she just confirmed it. And then 2009, there was actually a documentary done on her, about her life. I've heard bits of it that it didn't go too much into the murders or anything like that. But there is one point where she actually says that one of the reasons why she went along with it is because she was so afraid Pauline would commit suicide.
Oh,
Oh.
She was so scared that was going to happen, and she would blame herself that she just went along with it.
wow.
Yeah, 'cause
She's
had
saying
talked
that
about-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
No, but Pauline did mention suicide in her diaries
Yeah.
yeah,
in the movie. Interesting. Well,
dark, yeah.
on that might be a good segue to get into the trivia section.
Yes.
So, this time we're going to do it a bit differently, and moving forward from now, we're going to do it a bit differently. Although I didn't get Clayton's input in this, so we're just going to roll ahead with it.
Roll with it, mate. I
roll with
saw it. I'm roll with it.
Sweet. So what we're going to do now is whoever picks the movie is going to be the one who studies up on the trivia and presents it on their episode. So it won't just be me all the time.
It's your turn to be amazed, Mike.
Yeah, my turn to be amazed or completely unamazed, like the reaction I usually get. So,
Oh, okay.
so on that note, Jarrod picked the movie, so Jarrod's gonna give us the trivias. So let's do it.
Here's the facts.
Yeah, I compiled a bit. We've gone through a bit of it already, actually, so I'll read the bits that we haven't talked about. So I know you usually do the alternate casting, and I couldn't find anything on that. I guess just because they just went with such unknowns. There were people who hadn't been in films before.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said, they were mostly picked just because they looked like the characters. Kate Winslet won the role over 175 other girls, and Melanie Lynskey was cast 2 weeks before the filming started. They had spent that long trying to find someone that looked enough like Pauline and actually had acting talent. Apparently, both of the girls were so absorbed in the roles that off-screen they continued to act like the characters, which might have been a bit creepy for the cast.
I reckon.
I don't know,
That would have
having
been
those
funny.
two around.
Especially
Yeah.
Pauline.
Oh yeah. Entire film was shot in Christchurch, and it was almost at all the exact locations everything happened.
Oh, I
No
wanted to,
way, for real?
yeah, I wanted
the-
to say,
yeah.
what did you think of the opening, the Christchurch promo?
I
only
love
thing-
that. That was awesome.
Wasn't it so good? Oh,
I
man.
think the main
Christchurch,
thing I took away,
1953.
the main thing I took away with that was like everyone was riding bikes then, and how have we gone so far from that? I wish we could just ride bikes around town everywhere.
What I took from
But
that
have
was they
gone
said,
backwards.
what I took was that they said Christchurch was second only to, I can't remember
Copenhagen or
something.
something.
Copenhagen, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
what about Amsterdam, man? Like, that city is just bike central, but maybe it wasn't back then, but I can't believe it wasn't. Yeah, interesting. And also, what it made me realize or remember was that even up to, even into the 80s when I was a kid, I forgot how TV personalities had to have a British accent over here. You remember, like Judy
Yeah,
Bailey and
pretty
the,
much,
the
pretty true.
newscast, the news anchors,
Mhm.
all had to speak with a proper accent, which is all gone now.
Super noticeable in the 70s on TV, which is before your lad's time, but yeah, exactly that.
Yeah,
It was
and so
full
that's why it was funny, like listening to that promo about Christchurch, and it was very British. Yeah, okay, sorry. Anyway, go back to your trivia.
Yeah, like with the location, so the tea shop that they ate in just before the murder, that was the real tea shop, and it was actually knocked down just like a week after filming.
Oh,
So
Wow.
I'm not sure why, but they timed it quite well.
just to get
That
in
they
there.
got there before it was knocked down. Peter Jackson, he said that they went to the spot in the park where the murder actually happened. and they were going to film it there, but according to him it was quite eerily quiet. All the birds stopped singing and it was just creeping them out, so they just walked a couple hundred meters further down the path and filmed it there.
That was the bit I was going to mention before.
Yeah. So most of the world, this got an R rating or an adults rating, but here in New Zealand it was rated PG.
Seriously.
Yeah, PG movie.
Come on
so
in, come watch it.
Go and take your kids to see Heavenly Creatures.
With parental guidance.
Yeah, parental guidance, yeah.
I love my country. I really do.
This also sort of relates back to the other Kate Winslet movie you did, Eternal Sunshine, that there is a Simpsons episode which parodies it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, that it was Lisa the Drama Queen.
That's right.
It's from season 20, where Lisa meets a girl named Juliet. They have a really close friendship and live in their own fantasy world. And the Juliet was voiced by Emily Blunt in that episode.
Yeah. I've seen that episode so many times as I'm watching it, and then it morphs into that whole fantasy thing, and the penny dropped, and I went, "You're an idiot. How could you not know this?" It was so brilliant.
So now that's 2 episodes we've done that have been the basis of Simpsons episodes. No,
Absolutely.
3? 2.
3. Oh, Simpsons
Falling
are
Down.
everywhere. Yes.
Was Eternal Sunshine, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this.
Brilliant.
Maybe that's what we should just do for our episodes.
Find how it connects to The Simpsons.
Find the hidden Simpsons.
6 degrees to The Simpsons, that'd probably be really easy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Just a couple more. So, talking about the text at the end of the film, there's the line that says that it was a condition when they left prison that they couldn't meet each other.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that wasn't true. There was no conditions like that at all. Juliet was allowed to leave straight away, but Pauline had bail conditions for 6 months that she couldn't leave New Zealand. Yeah. Apparently they haven't met each other since, and Juliet, who's now Anne Perry, has no intention of ever meeting her.
Is Pauline still alive?
I haven't seen anything that said she has died. There was a little bit about her that she left for the UK and is now a devout Roman Catholic. She apparently lives her life in quite isolation, just praying, basically.
That's interesting, because I read that Anne Perry, or Juliet Hume in the movie, after being released, went to a few different countries, but while she was in America, became a Mormon.
Yeah, they both found religion afterwards.
Yeah, interesting.
One other I think that Anne Perry has said that they didn't actually have that sort of lesbian sexual relationship, and they were actually quite sheltered, and maybe some of the stuff in the diary wasn't not true because they weren't actually experienced or educated in that aspect.
Or was it how Pauline was seeing it, and it actually was in the...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
I wonder why Peter Jackson chose... See, I would think that maybe it was in the diary.
Yeah, I think it was in the diary, but there's the part where she goes to the guy John's house, and she's like, "Oh, I found out I didn't lose my virginity the first night when they were just lying next to each other."
Mm-hmm.
That sort of shows that they really had no idea, because they were going to a Christian girls' school, and that's sort of the time you don't talk about that.
Yeah, I wonder why Peter Jackson chose to go that route, or him and Fran Walsh. It's interesting.
I guess it's just what's implied. I mean, I think in the diaries they talk about, we acted out how all of the characters would make love, so they just went with that. Yeah, that about wraps up the trivia I have.
Okay, good trivia, man.
There you go. Yeah.
Well done. All right. So, right, let's start with Clayton, and we'll get his third favourite scene, or his most favourite scene, whatever you want to say.
My favourite scene of the movie.
There you go. So, what is it?
Yep. Oh, I have a question, actually, first. You know, through the whole... You know, at the end, when she actually decides that she's going to kill the mum, because she needs sign off to get her passport. Yeah? If she kills her mum, right, she's still got a dad. So she wouldn't be able to get the passport anyway.
I don't think there was a lot of clear thinking from either
No,
of them.
okay. No, just wondering.
Yeah, by that point, she'd probably devolved further than that rational thinking. I actually did have a question as well, but it was unrelated to that. Could you? I couldn't find anything, but I'm wondering if you did, Jarrod. I know Kate Winslet in real life has family, even still now, who live in New Zealand, and I believe in Christchurch. And I guess they needed a British actress because Juliet Hume or Anne Perry is British. But how did was she just here on holiday and then happened to be there for casting, or I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, neither did I. All I just found was that she had won over all these other number of girls. That's about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, cool. Sorry, Clayton, go.
Favorite scene, the whole when Juliet is in hospital with TB, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the priest comes in, he's all like, you need Jesus in your life?
Yeah.
And then the clay statue just comes in, stabs him from behind, slices him up, and she's like, yay! I don't need Jesus in my life. I found that very funny.
Yeah, that would be a scene you would find funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Alright. Brian, do you have a favourite scene?
I do. Excuse me, a couple. The one that oddly enough made me laugh the most, there's a scene where they're on the tram and the creepy boarder, John, is following them on the bike.
I love you.
And just for some reason that made me laugh out loud, and then he collides with the policeman who then starts chasing him down the street, and I just thought that was absolutely hilarious for some daft reason. I don't know why.
Maybe because it broke the tension a bit?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, and because he's just pathetic, really. I thought that was just fun. There's the third man, Orson Welles chase scene. Yeah, because a lot of the movie, it does lots of different things. Like I said, that whole sitting in the sitting room seems like a little bit of a horror vibe. And then, Dad's singing with the fish, and so there's comedy in it, and there's bits, there's drama, and there's this, that, and the other, and then you've got that whole high tension chase scene where you're being chased by an imaginary Orson Welles. I just thought that was really cool. But my favourite scene was where she's being analysed by the doctor. The mum takes her along, and he's trying to get inside her head and tell her that it's nice to have other friends. And then where he tries to then explain it to the mum, and he has difficulty with saying the word homosexuality.
Yes.
And it morphs into this really, really bizarre conversation about how medical science is always having breakthroughs, and we might be able to cure it soon.
Yeah.
Like it's a cold, and it struck me as just bonkers and very 50s, and probably very New Zealand 50s. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was really well laid out.
I feel like there's still people who think along those lines to this day. Cause
Wow.
you hear that quite a lot, especially out of America and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially out of the religious side.
It's quite funny because I think when he says that, there's like a real close up on his mouth.
Yes.
Right on mouth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just this, and then and just prior to that, you can completely understand almost why in her mind she has her clay character stab him through the chest. Yeah, and you really kind of sympathise with her at that point. Yeah, that was just that sequence there was my favourite of the whole movie.
For me, it's hard because, man, I really, really enjoyed watching this movie. I was really into it. And I was absolutely not... it was not in my mind at all to think about what my favourite scene was as I was watching, if that makes sense. I was just too into the movie. And now thinking back, I'm just trying to think what it could be, but I did, as I already mentioned before, and you've mentioned now, the Orson Welles scene was really well done, but mainly just because it was well done, not because it was my favourite scene. I liked any scene in the first half where Juliet, especially when she was brand new to the school, would stand up to the teachers and be a little prat, which obviously is what caught Pauline's attention. I find it really hard because I was just so engrossed in the movie and I wasn't really thinking along the lines, even though I know I should because we need it for the podcast. But I don't know. I'd probably, if I have to pick, I might just go with that first scene where they go into the fourth world and talk all about that and stuff. What about you, Jarrod?
Yeah, like a lot of the kind of comedic scenes were quite good. Like on the tram where the boarder's riding the bike, and I just really like the whole build up to the murder as well, just from like leaving the house, just because it's just so intense and just ramps up the whole way.
Right, so no one's favourite scene was the murder, so that's probably a positive.
Cool. We're all relatively healthy.
Right, so Clayton, do you have an MVP?
I like the girl that's not Kate Winslet.
Melanie Lynskey.
Yep. That was like throughout the whole movie, I found her very interesting.
You could see how she could go on to play Rose on 2.5 Men, though, eh? Like,
No,
is
I've never seen
that
2.5
makes
Men.
because
that
she's
makes
a
sense,
stalker
though.
in that movie, in that TV series. Yeah. Brian, what about you?
Kate, of course.
Yeah,
I did enjoy watching Kate Winslet. I genuinely thought even that the scenes where she's ill, I thought she played those really, really well.
Those scenes were really good.
Yeah, and so when at the point of the murder, and it's just the look on her face and the look in her eyes, which she realizes that we're doing this now. We've gone this far. So she's my MVP. I also thought that the woman Sarah Pierce, who played Pauline's mum, I thought she was terrific. I really enjoyed watching her.
She was.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to say before, the Juliet's mum who was cheating with
Yes.
Bill Perry, I think his name was. So they clearly got married in real life because Juliet Hume started using her stepfather's name and Perry.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. I thought that mother was also really good in the movie.
Yeah. Agreed.
For me, I think the two leads. Peter Jackson did a really good job, especially coming out of being a sort of a horror comedy guy and then going into this movie. It was quite a big change, but clearly very well pulled off. It became a critical smash. But yeah, I think for me, like I said at the start, it's hard to believe watching that Kate Winslet hadn't really. She had done some TV stuff before, but she hadn't really acted on this sort of a level. And Melanie Lynskey had never acted, as far as I could see. So I think those two just, I think they hit it out of the park, and I really disagree with the overacting part of it for the most part. The two girls, and if I have to have a crew one, I'll put Peter Jackson in. Jarrod?
Yeah, I agree with both the leads. That were just, I really liked them, and they're sort of how I pictured them, just from what I had known about the case. That's how I sort of pictured the girls to be. And like you, with the crew one, I think Weta Digital did really well for a movie made in 1994.
Yeah, good point. Especially from New Zealand. I mean, obviously, as I said before, Forrest Gump and Jurassic Park were coming out around that time.
And like you said, what, $5 million budget?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon between you, because it was after this was The Frighteners, right? From Peter Jackson.
He did a short film and then he did The Frighteners, I think.
Right. Okay. So he did like Forgotten Silver, which was that sort of mockumentary thing. If you guys ever get a chance to watch that, that's terrific. It's
that's
really
what I was
good.
thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then The Frighteners, and then Lord of the Rings, I think.
Yeah. So
that's a real gamble. That's not maybe a gamble. Maybe that's the wrong word. That's quite the leap.
Huge step up.
Yeah.
Huge step up. And yeah.
From what I remember reading was that they did The Frighteners, and he was allowed to film it in New Zealand, even though it was set in an American town.
Yeah.
They had all the technology to make The Frighteners, because obviously they had the special effects here. And then after they were finished that movie, they just had all that technology lying around collecting dust.
Right.
And so that's when he went, we probably could do Lord of the Rings or something with this.
Yeah.
And that was sort of how... So this movie led to The Frighteners, which then led to Lord of the Rings, which then led to him becoming a Sir, and going on from there.
And lots of them.
And King Kong, and the great documentary, what's it called? See, it's so great, I can't even remember the name. The World War...
They Shall Not Grow Old.
That's it. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
You'd have to think, I haven't done the maths yet, but Lord of the Rings, the budget for that, just the first movie, must dwarf all his other movies combined before that.
Yeah, I would say so.
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Just
Wait,
such
what
a
was
big...
the budget for Lord of the Rings?
That's your job, Clayton. You're supposed to Google stuff.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to try and beat Clayton to the Googling of this? Or yeah, because I mean, maybe it was one of those things where they go even from Heavenly Creatures, well, this is what you can do with $5 million. And then whatever the budget on Frighteners was, which I can't imagine was massively.
I would say it would be a lot bigger than
more.
5 million, though.
Bigger than 5
Is
million, but not
the-
Lord of the Rings budget.
No.
Fellowship,
Fellowship of the Ring.
the first one,
Yeah.
Yes.
93 million.
Okay.
Okay, just a bit of a step up then.
Yeah.
Damn.
What did it
No,
make?
good for you.
Just while you're in there, does it say
Box
what it made?
office 887 million.
See, almost $1 billion.
Not a bad return.
No,
No, not a bad return at all. I'll take it.
And so
Okay.
Frodo.
Cool. So, let's just now we'll do the quick round table. Just the thumbs up. So, Jarrod, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yep, thumbs up from me.
Brian,
Definitely thumbs up.
Clayton.
watch.
I'm in the middle. So I'm like, yeah, nah. I'm in the middle.
Okay, I'll give it a thumbs up. So 3 thumbs up and 1 in the middle. There you go.
But no
all
regrets for watching it.
No,
That's
no
cool.
regrets. I had seen it before, but so long ago I couldn't remember any of it apart from the fact that they murdered their mother. But I couldn't even remember how it was done.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was pleasantly surprised, and yeah, I'm really glad we watched it. Good choice, Jarrod.
Yeah, thank you.
And our first New Zealand movie on a New Zealand-based podcast. So slack, but glad we've finally done it.
I'm sure my
yes.
uncle will be picking a Taika Waititi one soon.
Oh, it's almost locked in.
I was so disappointed when you said that
Thor,
last time
Ragnarok.
that you didn't like Taika Waititi, because there are a couple of movies I wanted to do eventually, but I guess that won't be happening now.
Well, the
although-
tagline is forced to watch, right?
I was just going to
So,
say,
yeah.
forced to watch.
Yeah.
it-
You stretch this friendship as far as you feel you need to, Mike.
Yeah. I wouldn't have picked Thor Ragnarok as my... Not that I don't like... I
He's
do like
just
that
on
movie.
that in Star Wars, yeah?
No.
Oh,
Oh.
did he do stuff before Thor?
Hunt for the Wilder People.
No, I haven't
Um,
seen it.
He did Boy.
Oh, he did Boy.
He did Eagle vs. Shark.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, well, okay, you've seen Boy though, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So he did Boy.
I can do my Michael Jackson moves.
Yeah,
could
that's
sit
the
through
one. Yeah, I do like that movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Anyway, off topic. So,
What we do in the shadows as well.
oh, and what we do? Yeah, of course. How
Yeah.
could I
There you
forget
go.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, before we
I just googled something. I'm
Okay.
very surprised at something.
go,
Did you know? Like, do you class this as a New Zealand movie? A New Zealand movie, yeah.
this one, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in September of the same year, Once Warriors came out. This came out in October.
Oh, that's interesting.
Crazy bananas.
Because I would say Once Warriors would have dwarfed this movie.
Sort of on the topic of that, 1994. I sort of mentioned last week, like sort of one of the best years in film.
Mm.
If just looking through a list of what came out in 1994.
Yep.
So obviously, so Forrest Gump that won the Oscar that year.
hmm
You've got Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Shawshank Redemption.
Wow.
Lion
Which was
King.
a critical bomb.
Oh, Lion King. Cool.
Lion King. Usual Suspects. Four Weddings and a Funeral. It just, I mean, you're pretty stacked
Yeah,
for
pretty
1
st-
year.
Yeah. Yeah, so for this movie to break out in America at all is a bit of an accomplishment. But I guess when Miramax picked it up, even though that was probably Mr. Harvey Weinstein, yeah, it's a pretty big deal, I guess, back then.
Good
Oh,
year.
'cause
Does
1994.
Miramax?
Same company who brought out Pulp Fiction.
Does Miramax? No, because you said it was somewhat an independent movie. Do they do independent movies, Miramax?
They distributed this movie, they didn't make it, they didn't
Oh, okay.
fund it or anything, but Miramax was sort of like a more independent, arty
Distributor.
studio at the beginning, because they're the
Okay.
ones who made Quentin Tarantino a star by distributing his movies. I mean, he obviously made himself a star, but they did his movies. They did Kevin Smith's movies.
Yeah, Clerks and all that, eh?
So they, I guess you could say they were sort of like an independent studio for a while. They got brought out by Disney eventually.
Oh, okay.
So, cool. All right. So before we go on to Brian, because it's his pick for next week, I just want to mention that last week we had read out a comment from Dave Williams about Batman, and then we went back because Clayton wanted me to ask him something, but I paraphrased and probably asked him the wrong thing, and I said, "Did you like Batman or Batman Returns better? Did you enjoy the sequel?" So that was probably heavily.
That was from our bonus episode, eh?
That was from our bonus episode of Batman Returns, which is...
Get it? Yeah.
Yeah. So he did reply, and he said, I really like them both. Hard for me to choose one as the villains are different, but I usually watch Returns a little bit more. And technically it's a Christmas movie just like Die Hard is. Ha ha ha. So hey, I'll give him that. It is set at Christmas. Although Christmas isn't a central plot point to the movie, so I mean, one could argue. But we're not going to. So thanks for the comment.
Does that make Dave our first official friend of the pod?
It does.
Hey Dave, welcome.
Hey Dave, welcome to the club. So...
You need to give that man a mug.
We need to make a mug. We need mugs.
You need a mug.
Right.
Give that man a mug.
Which one of us is vice president in charge of merchandising? I forget.
And the guest should get a mug too. Jarrod, you get a mug.
You get a mug. You get a mug. Everyone gets a mug. Actually, a nice black mug with the white logo on might look quite nice. I might look into
I'm taking
that.
notes. That's fine.
Taking notes. Vice President of Merchandise Brian can take notes.
Taking orders before long. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to need everybody's t-shirt size.
We'll go to Vistaprint and we'll see how much a mug costs. All right. So with that, this is the end of Heavenly Creatures. Thanks, Jarrod, for jumping on and for choosing a really good pick.
My pleasure.
And hopefully you'll want to come back at some point.
For sure, yeah.
Good.
A lot of movies I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, don't feel they have to all be New Zealand movies. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Yeah.
You've placed us all under enormous pressure, so that's brilliant. Thank you for that. Awesome.
I 100% thought it was going to be something like a Tarantino movie or something, so it was a nice surprise. Right, so now, as I said, next week Brian is picking the movie. So Brian, after the drum roll, let us know what you have picked.
Slight change of tone this time round. I thought I'd go for something a little lighter.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I think we were due for a little bit lighter. This is a movie that you may or may not have seen, may or may not have even heard of. It's a 2005 movie, directed and written by Jason Reitman. Pretty impressive cast. It's got Aaron Eckhart, Maria Bello, Sam Elliott, William H. Macy, Katie Holmes, everyone's favourite J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons.
Oh, I love Katie Holmes.
And the second time, Robert Duvall, and it's a movie called Thank You for Smoking.
Nice. I have seen that a long time ago and I can't remember it.
Never seen it.
And everybody was shocked. But I'll be interested to see if
Wait, is it a drama? I'm guessing it's a drama.
It's satirical comedy, I suppose, is probably the best way to describe it. Yeah. And beyond that, it's just all about the watching. Yeah.
Good.
And that's my pick for next time round.
Nice pick. All right, so in 2 weeks we'll come back with our chat on Thank You for Smoking. Brian will come back with all the trivias for that movie. And
just about Katie Holmes.
Just about Katie Holmes, yeah. And we'll find a way to shoehorn
Just
Elijah Wood and Kate Winslet into our discussion about a movie they're not in.
The Simpsons too.
And The Simpsons. Good,
probably
cool,
Margot
Jarrod.
Robbie.
And and we'll get Margot Robbie's alleged boyfriend on the show one day. So, with that, thanks again to Jarrod, thanks to Clayton and Brian. I've been Mike, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with Thank You for Smoking. Leave us comments on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Heritage Film Pod. You can Gmail us at heritagefilmpod@gmail.com or go to anchor.fm/heritagefilmpod, bit of a theme, and leave us a voicemail. It's free, you can just do it from your phone, and if you are willing, we can put it on the show. So, see you in 2 weeks.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.
That's the end. Thanks for listening.